everybody. We still waiting for Joel. There he is.
He just ran out.
Yeah.
Real quick.
You guys good to go? Bring in the jury?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did she just go get him?
Yeah, she's going to get him. Who's going to be reading the jury? All right.
He's pretty much taking the reins the whole day today.
Okay.
I'm going to do my best to let him. Don't worry, she'll be doing it still. There it is.
Session. The Honorable Judge Lars Anderson now presiding.
All right, everyone, go ahead and have a seat. All right, we are on the record this morning. We have our jurors present, counsel and Mr. Jackson. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You do have your packets now, as I think I mentioned to you, you would. There are notepads and pens in there that you can use, as well as the button I mentioned that will identify you as a juror that we'd ask that you wear while you're here in the courthouse. All right, Mr. Scheer, is the state prepared to proceed with the statement of charge and plea?
We are, Your Honor.
You may.
In the Iowa District Court in and for Lane County, State of Iowa versus Alexander Kid Jackson. Comes now Jerry Vanderson as prosecuting attorney in the name and by the authority of the state of Iowa accuses Alexander Kid Jackson of the crime of count 1, murder in the first degree, committed as follows. that the said Alexander Ken Jackson, on or about June 15, 2021, in the county of Lynn and state of Iowa, did unlawfully and willfully, having malice aforethought, willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation, killed Jan Jackson at 4414 Oak Leaf Court Northeast, Cedar Rapids, Lynn County, Iowa. Violation of Iowa Code Sections 707.1, 707.2, sub 1, sub A. Count 2, murder in the first degree, committed as follows: that the said Alexander Ken Jackson, on or about June 15, 2021, in the county of Lynn and state of Iowa, did unlawfully and willfully, having malice aforethought, willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation, killed Melissa Jackson at 4414 Oak Leaf Court Northeast, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Violation of Iowa Code Section 707.1, 707.2, sub 1, sub A. And count 3, murder in the first degree, committed as follows: that the said Alexander Ken Jackson, on or about June 15, 2021, in the county of Lynn and state of Iowa, did unlawfully and willfully, having malice aforethought, willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation, killed Sabrina Jackson at 4414 Oak Leaf Court Northeast, Cedar Rapids, Lynn County, Iowa. Violation of Iowa Code Section 707.1, 707.2, sub 1, sub A. By true information, signed, Gary Benson, Monica Slaughter, Assistant Lynn County Attorney. To these charges, the defendant has entered a plea of not guilty.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, the parties, through their attorneys, will have an opportunity to make opening statements. In doing so, they may explain to you what they believe are the issues in this case and what they expect that the evidence will show. The statements that they are going to be making and the arguments that they will make at the conclusion of the evidence are not themselves evidence and are not to be considered by you as evidence. Also, any statements that they make now or later about the law are not to be considered by you as the law of the case. Since evidence sometimes comes in sort of a piecemeal fashion or out of chronological or logical sequence during the course of a trial, statements of counsel may help put the facts as they believe them into perspective. They're intended to give you a thumbnail sketch of the case and to outline the evidence to better aid you in understanding both the issues and what they believe the evidence will show. Therefore, please give counsel your close attention. Mr. Scheer, are you prepared to proceed for the state?
I am, Your Honor.
You may.
May it please the court, opposing counsel. Alexander Jackson, I want you to think that he had the perfect family life. That his mother, Melissa, his father, Jan, his sister, Sabrina, they all got along great. They had family dinners. They played board games. It was perfect. On the Eagle Scout badge, there are 2 stars. Those stars stand for truth and knowledge. The evidence is going to show you what the truth is about this family dynamics. And it's not what Mr. Jackson claimed it to be. On June 15th of 2021, a 911 call went out early in the morning hours. That call is made by the defendant, stating someone had broken into our house and shot me and my family. This call went on for 15 minutes. And you're going to hear the entirety of this call. And even in this call begins inconsistencies with what the defendant said had happened on that date in question. What the majority of that call focused on was this person breaking in, and that there was a struggle, and the defendant got shot in the foot. The dispatcher asked multiple times, describe this person. Who else is there? Eventually, the defendant does acknowledge that his sister and mother are home. And then as further conversation goes on in this call, the defendant then says, my sister, my mother, my father. Although the 911 call dispatcher doesn't catch the last that his father is there, because officers will testify when they arrived on scene, what they thought they were going to was not what they expected. Officer Curtis Buckles, a certified K-9 officer, along with Officer Tim Brown, Officer Corey Barber, Sergeant Phil Hansen, Officer Justin Kaczynski, arrived in the area of 4414 Oakleaf Court Northeast, a very nice neighborhood. See, this was a nice, sunny, warm day in June. It's about 8:31 when they arrived. Immediately, officers had suspicious of what exactly is going on. They all were equipped with body cam. And you'll see the body cam footage from Officer Barber, Officer Buckles, and Officer Brown. And they take precaution to approach the home, not knowing what is inside. The information that they were given that this was someone that had broken in and shot the defendant. They were not even sure how many people were inside the home. So they approached the home very cautiously. Officer Brown takes a wide loop into the woods to see guard. Officer Buckles, with other officers, approach slowly, trying to avoid windows. They have the dispatcher call inside the home, believing if the sister and the mother are there, to answer the phone and come out. As they approach the back of the house, they see the back door open. Officer Buckles is the first officer to enter into the home. And what he sees is not what he expected. He sees the dead body of Jan Jackson face down in the carpet. Blood coming from his head around his body. Officer Buckles hears a voice. Officer Buckles does not know where this voice is coming from, and thinks initially it's coming from Mr. Jackson and says, "Show me your hands." And then we hear a voice saying, "My hand is on my foot." Officers immediately realize there's another person down here, and that Mr. Jackson is deceased. And shortly down the hallway is the defendant holding his foot, a trail of blood going towards the defendant. Right when officers entered into the home, there's a fireplace. There's 22 caliber shells and bullets spread out around the fireplace. There's a love seat. Behind the love seat, there are 22 shell casings in a pile. Around the body of Jan Jackson, there are bullets, shell casing. Officers immediately conduct a productive search to see what is inside the house, to clear it if there's anyone else present or any other firearms available. They make their way down the hallway towards where the defendant is, asking, "Who's down here?" The defendant's response, "My sister is." They ask if she's okay. The defendant says, "Yeah, I think she is." They go into Sabrina Jackson's bedroom, where she's laying in bed with her covers around her, shot and dead. They now realize they have 3 victims or concerns. 2 dead bodies and Mr. Jackson with a gunshot in his foot. They make their way upstairs to continue to sweep the house to look for any other individual there. Their dog, Hero, is out on the sun porch. They make their way to the back bedroom where Melissa and Jan's master bedroom is. Next to the bed, on the ground, sloped down, they find Melissa Jackson dead, shot multiple times. They found shell casings as well. They go downstairs. They find the .22 Browning rifle next to the defendant. They call for help. They soon realize that this is more than what they thought it was going to be. This was no longer a burglary case. This was a triple homicide. They had paramedics, with their help, escort the defendant outside the home, onto the stretcher, and taken to the hospital for help on his foot. Still not 100% sure what's going on here. This was supposed to be a burglary. It's not. There's something more. There's 3 dead bodies. So they need to start securing the scene, start looking for any signs of intruders or anyone that else could have been there that left the area. They find no evidence of any sign of anyone else inside that home that morning except for the defendants, Sabrina, Melissa, and Jane. There is no signs of forced entry. There is no signs of a struggle. There are no signs of any furniture, objects moved. There's no signs of anything taken. Officer Buckles, with his canine partner, Corsa, who is certified through the North American Police Work Dog Association, known as NAPWA, conducted a track to see for this phantom burglar, who only description they were given was a black man wearing black. Officer Buckles will tell you about his how he's certified in dual tracking and also looking for explosives. He'll tell you about how Corsa conducts a track looking for an individual. You'll see also how that track is conducted. He'll tell you about how the dog breathes, how he reads the dog's indications of something is changing. He'll tell you about the process and procedure used and how it was done properly that day. And you'll see the defendant riding in the ambulance, taken to the hospital for treatment, taken to the Cedar Rapids Police Department, and what he said had happened. You'll see his tone, his body language, and how of concern he had or shown or remorse for the loss of his family. And all the defendant would say is, "I didn't do this," that it was some intruder, some black man wearing all black and green shoes. You'll hear about the investigation done over 3 days by Cedar Rapids police officers, how they process this home to look for evidence. You hear from Investigator Brandon Bosenberg, an identification officer. We'll tell you about how a scene is processed, photographed, and evidence is collected and secured. He'll talk about how things have fingerprints, how fingerprints are looked for, and potentially how DNA is looked for. What you will continue to hear is that there is no evidence to show that anyone else was there except for the defendant. That the officers canvassed the neighborhood looking for security footage where they received from neighbors named Bao Li Yang and his daughter Lydia Yang. From their desk camera from that day, you see nobody entering or leaving the home. In fact, they even pulled the Ring doorbell cameras from the Jacksons' home, from the front of the house, and more importantly, from the back of the house, where again you see no one coming and going to support that this phantom ever existed. You hear about this unique Browning .22 rifle. Not your typical .22 rifle that is used. Where a typical .22 rifle is that you load the bullet in the chamber above, and it's an automatic, where after you shoot, you pull back the stock, and it discharges the bullets. And where the bullets will fly anywhere because of how it discharge. This unique Browning .22 rifle is loaded in the stock, or the butt of the gun, where you put 11 bullets, one at a time, in this gun. You extend the rod, cock the rod, which puts the bullet in the chamber. What's unique also about this gun is that it's a semi-automatic .22 rifle, meaning you can fire the 11 shots without having to re-put a bullet in the chamber. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And also when those bullets are discharged, they come out from the bottom of the gun, where a nice, neat pile is gathered. A gun that the defendant told officers that him and his dad were cleaning the day before because it jams up. A gun that was used on all 3 of the Jackson family members. A gun where no officer, when looking at it, knew how to load it. A gun where identification officer Brandon Bosenberger, who has seen multiple firearms, had to look up a YouTube video to figure out how this gun is loaded. This gun was shot more than 11 times on that June 15, 2021 day. Meaning, it had to be loaded more than once. And you'll get exactly the amount of bullets and shell casings that were found. You'll hear from Deputy Medical Examiner Dr. Kelly Cruz, who performed the autopsies on Melissa Jackson, Sabrina Jackson, and Jane Jackson. Sabrina Jackson was shot twice. Once from a distance, into her chest, out of her chest into her arm. She was then shot closely in the face, through the eye. Jan Jackson was shot 5 times. Twice in the head, in the neck, and the stomach. Melissa Jackson was shot twice, both in the head, from a close range. But there were multiple shell casings. On each one of these showed that the shots initially came from a distance, and the last kill shots were an up close and personal shot. The defendant will claim that he did not hear anything because he was sleeping outside on the sun porch with his dog, Hero. A day in June 15, 2021, where it was 80 plus degrees with over 39% humidity. And yet the defendant claims, and you'll hear this in his interview, that he didn't hear anything until after fact and had this struggle with this mystery man down in the basement, and that's how he got shot in the foot. He got shot in the foot after 3 people were dead, and that the mystery man left the gun behind and didn't finish him off. Yet, Identification Officer Bosenberg will talk about processing this gun. But there's no DNA located. There was fingerprints located on the handle area of the gun. 1 set of fingerprints, clear as day. Those fingerprints and palm prints belong to Alex Jackson. And they weren't in an area necessary where it would seem how you would hold a gun or if there was a struggle. These prints were clear. There's no sign of them being wiped away or smudged by someone else. In fact, Investigator Bosenberg was able to lift these prints, form a scan, and put them on the gun, where an individual would be holding the gun and pointing down and shooting yourself in the foot. You'll hear from neighbors as well. Edward Downing will talk about the family, the neighborhood. They were quiet. They were to themselves. That Sabrina seemed to have a lot of energy, was a good person, active. You're going to hear a lot of information about this case. But this information gives you that knowledge to render a verdict. With this evidence, this knowledge, this truth, you will see that there is only one person responsible for these events that happened on June 15th of 2021. That the person responsible for the deaths of Sabrina Jackson, Jan Jackson, Melissa Jackson, was caused by their own family member, the defendant, when he shot and killed them with that .22 Browning rifle. And not just once for each one, multiple times. Taking the time to load this gun, more than 11 bullets. And at the conclusion of this trial, my co-counsel, Ms. Slaughter, will summarize all of this for you. And on behalf of the state, she will ask that you render verdicts of guilty, of murder in the first degree, for each one of these family members. That you find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree for Jane Jackson. That you find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree for Sabrina Jackson. And that you find the defendant guilty of murder of the first degree for Melissa Jackson. Thank you.
Ms. Garner, are you prepared to proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. Counsel. Having just seen his father lying in a pool of blood on the ground, with a gunshot bleeding from his foot, in shock, as officers said, heavily medicated with fentanyl, officers wasted no time at all accusing Alexander Jackson of killing his family. And although they interrogated him for over 7 hours, it took about 35 minutes before they decided that Alexander Jackson was their suspect. And Officer Matt Denlinger and Sarah Lucina had never even stepped foot on the crime scene. You'll see in those 7.5 hours that Alexander Jackson never wavered in telling officers what happened to him that morning. He told them over 13 different ways that it was not him. But charging Alex was the easiest route for officers. And as the state said, you will hear about Alexander Jackson having a good childhood growing up. At a young age, he participated in Boy Scouts. He received 34 merit badges to lead him on to become an Eagle Scout on November 17th in 2017. You will hear that at 17 years old, Alex led an Eagle Project where he helped restore a saved Cedar Rapids heritage home and was mentioned in the Gazette. You'll also hear that throughout high school, Alexander Jackson was a member of the band, member of the marching band, and where he played the flute. You'll hear he graduated from Kennedy High School in 2019 and was accepted into the University of Iowa that fall. You're going to hear that Alex was raised by loving parents. He had great relationships with his mother and his father both, spending time with them, helping them out around the house. You're going to hear about how the entire family spent time together, catching up over dinner and watching movies together. You'll especially hear how Alex loved playing video games with his father, and they did, on occasion, go to the shooting range. And on that night of June 14th, you're going to hear exactly that the night before, Alex was with his family, having dinner, watching movies. Shortly after, Alex goes to his bedroom and retrieves this .22 Browning rifle. And that way, him and his father can clean this rifle. They had plans to go to the shooting range that next day. So after a while, you're going to hear that Alex leaves his dad with this gun, goes and plays video games with his friends, and then goes to bed on the porch, as he normally and regularly has in the past. As an Eagle Scout, that's not surprising to want to sleep outside. And thankfully, he didn't sleep in his room that night. Because as you will hear, around 8:10 that morning, Alex woke up to multiple gunshots. And scared, he finally goes downstairs to see what was happening. And as he approaches those stairs, he sees a man messing with his dad's gun. You'll hear his first instinct was to run towards that man, pushing him, trying to get this gun away from him. But the man wouldn't let go of the gun. And during this struggle and this incident, Alex is shot one time into his foot, causing it to immediately shoot out blood. Alex gets a hold of the gun, and the man runs back out the door, leaving the door open. Now you're going to hear that Alex's first thought was to call 911, which he does. He couldn't stand or walk, so Alex crawls to his bedroom to find a tourniquet to put around his foot. Police arrive, and they place him in the ambulance where they immediately give him fentanyl. Alex breaks down in tears, and one of the first things he asks is if his father is okay. He's hoping that his father is in an ambulance as well, and you'll hear him ask the ambulance that. Now you'll hear at the hospital that officers begin their interrogation. One of the first things they do is read Alex his Miranda rights without Alex even asking for an attorney. Alex freely speaks with officers. And as I said, only 35 minutes into that interview, they begin directing their questions towards Alex as though he's the suspect in killing his family. They ask him, do they ever do anything to upset you? You're going to hear that for 6 more hours, officers go on this fishing expedition with Alex, accusing him of killing his mother and his father and his sister. While on fentanyl, while he's bleeding, while he had just been shot and saw his father lying in blood, you will hear officers attempt to catch Alex in alive for the next 6 hours. Officers will accuse Alex of having mental health issues. They'll tell him he needs to go to a mental ward. They tell him he needs a social worker without any proof of that. You'll hear officers begin talking about his home life, starting with accusing him of dropping out of college. Officers aren't thinking that it's June 15th. Alex is at home that day because it's summer break and he's not in college at the time. You'll even hear officers continually put Alex down about his struggles in school, going so far as to saying a guy with no job and no girlfriend should have all the time in the world to pass classes with a B. At this time, students everywhere were struggling with school, online schooling, because it was during and after COVID. You'll then hear officers begin to tell Alex how his dad's unhappy with him and how his grades aren't that great and they don't have the best of relationships. And then they use the interrogation tactic of telling Alex that his sister is his parents' favorite child. At one point, you'll even hear officers ask him his sister's password to her phone, suggesting, is it dad's favorite number one? But you'll hear Alex tell officers how his dad's proud of him, how his parents didn't have a favorite and that they loved them both equally. You'll hear when that doesn't work, they then move on to his relationship with his sister. Tell me about this relationship with your sister. And as brothers and sisters are, Alex says, I mean, we're brother and sister. We're not the closest, but she is my sister. Their response, with no reasoning at all, I can tell you don't like your sister. And you'll hear that after all this questioning, after speaking with neighbors, talking to friends, going through home records, that officers found no evidence at all that Alex did not get along with his family or with his parents. There's no history of mental illness. You'll hear nothing except he enjoyed band. He enjoyed scouts. He was respectful to his teachers, respectful to his parents. No one who knew them said anything about this family was unusual. Then they continue to question Alex. You'll hear that officers tell him, you told the 911 operator that your mother and sister was dead. Alex is adamant that that's untrue. He did not know the condition of his mother and sister. He hadn't seen them that morning. You'll hear for yourselves in the 911 call that will be played that Alex never once mentions his mother or his sister. He says that he's been shot and a family member has shot. He's only referring to his father, who he saw lying in blood. You'll hear that officers tried to imply that his mom's blood would be on him or his body somewhere. You'll hear that officers took multiple swabs from Alex, multiple swabs from areas around his body, that they tested different pieces of clothing that he had on. And officers found no other blood on Alex except from his own body. You'll hear that officers found 2 separate prints on that rifle that was on the scene. One belonging to Alex, the other print belonging to an unidentified person. You will also hear that none of the victim's blood was found on Alex, no matter how close officers claim that he was to the victims when they were shot. You'll also hear that none of the victim's blood was found on the gun either. In fact, you're going to hear that no blood and no DNA was found on that gun or the muzzle of that gun, despite Alex telling them that blood shot out of his foot when he was shot, which makes it very difficult to not find blood on this gun. You'll also hear that the officers didn't even bother to test whether there are any fingerprints or DNA on these shell casings, on the bullets later removed from that gun, or from any bullets that were dropped on the floor in the living room. You're also going to hear the officers confront Alex about being on his phone at 6:50 a.m. when Alex had told officers he was asleep at 8, an hour and a half later. What was Alex Googling that morning? Who played the Emperor in a Star Wars movie? That is not the search engine of someone who is about to kill their family. You'll also hear that an officer, as you heard, took his canine, who was well trained in tracking scent, disturbed vegetation, and explosive detection. He took this canine on the property, but not the entire property. As you will see, the canine must have never taken out the basement to the right side, over on brick and concrete. You'll see from the officer's body cam, to the right would be the logical path that an intruder would enter and exit among the rest of the area of the yard. And additionally, you're going to hear from a canine expert that it would be difficult for a canine to track a crime scene where multiple officers, multiple ambulance, and multiple people from fire had been all over the property. And you're going to hear that dogs cannot track on brick and concrete. Lastly, along with that, you are going to hear that officers accuse Alex of interrupting the recording of the Ring cameras. They say to him, "How soon before this happened did you mess with the cameras? At what point did you unplug the cameras?" And again, you're going to hear that that was untrue, because officers downloaded those videos. All 4 cameras were working. The garage and the front door showed the police activity. However, the motion detector on the backyard camera only detected a limited area of the backyard. It detected to the extreme left of the house. That camera was on the front porch of the bedroom, the parents' balcony bedroom. The same area Alex activated it while he was doing a chore for his mother the night prior. Not one camera had been touched, as the officers alluded to. You're going to hear that Alexander Jackson's fingerprints were not on that camera. You're going to hear that it was a wireless camera, so there's no way to unplug it. And you're going to hear that it was battery operated, and that the battery was still inside of this camera when officers took it. You're going to hear, based on the questioning of officers to Alex, that he appeared to only know about the cameras in the front and the garage. Those are 2 major pieces of evidence in this case that would rule out an intruder coming into the house. And in no way did they rule out an intruder. This was a home invasion with an unknown motive. An intruder who escaped out the back door and left it open. The evidence will show that the police made very little to no effort in this investigation. Alexander Jackson was the 4th victim in this case. There's no doubt this is a tragedy, no doubt at all. Do not compound this tragedy by convicting Alexander Jackson of murder. Thank you.
Mr. Scheer, is the state prepared to call its first witness?
One second.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, I think I told you this yesterday, but whenever we have a kind of a natural break like this, if you want to stand and stretch, feel free. I may do that myself on occasion. So just make sure you stay in your spots.
State's ready, Your Honor. The state would call Bali Yang to the stand.
All right?
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Young.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Thank
All
you.
right. Mr. Young, I'm Judge Anderson. I'm going to administer an oath to you, so I'd ask that you raise your right hand. Mr. Young, do you swear or affirm, sir, that the testimony you'll be giving today will be the truth?
Yes.
Okay. You can put your hand down, and Mr. Young, I'm going to ask that just for the record, that if you please can give me your first and last name and spell them both.
Okay. Baoli Yang. First name is Baoli. Last name is Yang.
All right. Thank you. All right. Hold on a second. You got that one here. I'm going to hand it to you. Okay. Yep. Kathy, are you ready? All right. Mr. Shear, whenever you're ready, you may begin your examination.
Thank you. Sir, can you once again just state your name for the record as well as how you pronounce your last name correctly?
Yeah. Baoli Yang. Last name is Yang.
Mr. Young, can you tell us how old you are?
59.
Where do you reside?
In Cedar Rapids, northeast side.
And do you reside near 4414 Oakleaf Court Northeast?
Yes.
Approximately how is your house situated from this residence?
Across cul-de-sac
How long have you resided at this residence?
since 2006.
So were you residing at this residence on June 15th of 2021?
Yes.
And with regards to your residence, do you have any type of Ring doorbell, Nest camera, or any type of security system on the front of your home?
We have both Ring and Nest cameras.
And what direction does this Ring and Nest camera point towards?
The Nest camera is facing the porch of the front entranceway, and the Nest camera is on top of the front door, so can see who is coming to our house.
And does your Nest camera, can it also see across towards the 4414 residence as well?
Yes.
And did you know who Jan Jackson was?
I do.
And did you know who Melissa Jackson was?
Yes.
And did you know who Sabrina Jackson was?
Yes.
And do you know who Alexander Jackson is?
Yes.
And do you see Alexander Jackson in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Would you just please point to him and just describe briefly the color of shirt he's wearing?
Yellow.
Yellow. And is
Yeah.
it the gentleman sitting towards my left with the goatee?
That's right.
Thank you. Your Honor, may the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant?
The record so reflects.
Thank you. Sir, can you just tell me what you knew about Jan Jackson?
So they moved in about 12 years, 13 years ago. So we have been, living there, and at that time, we have 2 dogs. Sabrina usually is our dog sitter anytime when we need to go out.
And,
I'm sorry, I did not.
sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mr. Shear. I did not catch what you said, sir, at the end of that.
Oh, she usually, when we go out, she come over, take care of our dogs.
Thank you.
So Sabrina would often come be a dog sitter for you?
Yeah, yes.
Did you know Jan very well?
Not very well, but we had occasional conversations on their driveway, on our driveway.
And I appreciate you looking at me when we're talking, but it would be
Okay.
helpful if you just talk to the microphone
Okay.
so we can make sure everyone can hear you
Okay.
as well as our court reporter, sir. I can't. And you said that you had conversation with Jan, and I don't want to know about like things you guys talked about, but where they appeared to be friendly.
Oh yeah, very friendly.
Any issues with Jan?
No.
What about Melissa? How would you describe Melissa?
She was very active with her garden, so we see her more often outside doing the, she has a very beautiful flower pot and a patch right in front of her house.
How about Sabrina? You seem to kind of maybe known her a little bit better since she dog sit for you. How would you describe Sabrina?
Oh, she was very shy, and she loves their dogs, and she plays with the dog almost every day. And sometimes she takes her dogs for a walk or for a run. And I think Melissa runs almost every day. Sabrina runs almost every day and take care of their dog.
And so I think you said that Sabrina would run every day and she would take her dog with her.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I heard you clearly, sir. Thank you. Did you ever have much interaction with Alex Jackson?
Not much.
Did you ever see him do anything or?
Yeah, he is also very, very active, take care of the lawn, and I think I saw him probably every week mow the lawn and doing other yard work.
Ever see any concerns that you had with the family?
No.
Prior to June 15th of 2021, do you recall the last time that you saw the family?
I think that weekend before I saw everybody outside. It was a nice day.
Any problems or concerns you saw
No.
with them?
No.
Everything appeared to be nice and normal?
Yeah, like usual.
When did you learn or discover that something had happened on June 15th of 2021?
Already, I saw ambulance parked by their driveway.
What time were you awake on June 15th of 2021?
Because of my medical condition, I usually wake up around 8 or 8:30.
And on June 15th of 2021, did you ever see anything out of the ordinary in the neighborhood?
Well, other than the ambulance and fire trucks, so all the other aspect of the neighborhood was the same.
And I imagine that you probably weren't staring out your window from the morning you got up till the ambulance came.
Yeah.
But did you ever see anybody besides the law enforcement, the ambulance, that appeared to be out of place in the neighborhood?
No.
And besides officers and paramedics going to the home on June 15th of 2021, did you ever see anyone that appeared to be out of place or not belonging in that area?
No.
And once again, you weren't looking at the home 24/7, were you?
No.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Sir, I'm going to hand you a CD that's been previously marked as State's Exhibit number 6. Have you had a chance to briefly review the contents on State's Exhibit 6?
Yes.
And does that contain the Nest Cam footage that you provided to Cedar Rapids police officers from June 15th of 2021?
Yes.
And does that footage show the extension from your home all the way to seeing the 4414 residence?
Yes.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this time I would ask to admit State's Exhibit number 6 into evidence.
Your Honor, may we approach?
You may.
Honor, we have no objection to State's Exhibit 6, subject to the bench comments.
All right, then at this point, State Exhibit 6 is admitted, subject to the conference that we just had. Mr. Scheer?
Sir, the information on this that you provided to law enforcement, is that broken down in multiple clips?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Just wasn't sure who was going.
Oh, okay, all right. Good morning, Mr. Yan.
Thank you.
And you remember meeting me before at a deposition we took from you earlier?
Yes.
And you did tell us in that deposition that you did have interactions with Alex Jackson. You remember that?
Yes, so that interaction was through email. He asked me to write a letter of recommendation.
Yes. And you also told us that sometimes he would come over and watch your dogs.
Yes, but at that time, we were usually away from home.
Yes, no, okay, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But when Sabrina couldn't do it, Alex would come over and watch your dogs.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. And you would also see Alex out in the yard with his dog,
yes,
playing with his dog.
yeah.
And having these interactions with all of these different family members that you've told us about, you've had interactions with Sabrina, with Jan, with Melissa, and with Alex. You had no idea of any problems that were going on inside that house, did you?
No,
You never heard any arguments coming from their house towards yours?
no,
Never saw any fighting between any of the family members?
no,
And did you hear anything that morning?
no,
Morning of the June 15th.
nothing.
And sir, do you know what time you would have awoke on the morning of June 15th?
So I have, every day I have a 9 o'clock meeting. So I usually get ready just for that. So maybe, 8:30, 8 o'clock.
Somewhere between 8 and 8:30.
Yeah.
You weren't keeping track, obviously.
No, I only keep track 9 o'clock.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions, Mr. Yan. Thank you.
Any redirect, Mr. Scheer?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Yang, you are excused and free to go, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah. Mr. Scheer, is the state prepared to call its next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The state will call Lydia Yang to the stand.
Right. Ms. Yang, I'm going to have you come right over there to the seat to my far left, if you would. And you can go ahead and have a seat. And Ms. Yang, first, that microphone there in front of you is live, and we'd ask that you use it. You could adjust it. May want to move it down a little, tilt it down a little bit. The whole thing kind of goes down too as well. Yep.
Is this good? Okay.
Hopefully. So, Ms. Yang, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to swear you in, so I'd ask that you raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving this morning will be the truth?
Yes.
Okay? And you can put your hand down. And the next thing I'm going to ask is that you please give me your first name and your last name and spell them both, please, for me for the record.
Okay. My name's Lydia Yang. First name spelled Lydia. Last name Yang, Yang.
Right. Thank you. Mr. Scheer?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Hain, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Very good.
How old are you?
I'm 25.
Are you employed?
I'm a full-time student.
Where do you go to school at?
The University of Iowa.
What are you studying?
I'm a medical student.
And where do you reside?
I live in Iowa City.
Prior to living in Iowa City, did you reside here in Cedar Rapids?
Yep, I was living in my parents' house full-time in Cedar Rapids.
What's that address?
4417 Oak Leaf Court, Northeast Cedar Rapids.
And how was that in relation to 4414 Oak Leaf Court Northeast?
Both of our houses, I don't think the microphone's
I didn't mute it. Should be working.
on. Okay. So we both live at the end of a cul-de-sac, and so our house faces their house.
And so if you would step on your front porch, could you see the residents of 4414?
Yep, yeah, so we can see their front lawn and house and everything.
Did you strike that? How long have you and your family reside at this residence?
We moved there probably about 15 years ago, about when I was 8, so I think, yeah, about that amount of time.
And were you residing there with your family on June 15th of 2021?
Yes, I was.
Do you know who was residing at the 4414 residence?
Yep, I knew them as just the Jackson family.
And did that consist of Jan Jackson,
Yes,
Melissa Jackson,
yes,
Sabrina Jackson,
yes,
and Alex Jackson?
yes,
Do you see Alex Jackson in the courtroom today?
yes.
Would you just please point to that individual and just describe the color shirt or jacket that person's wearing?
He's over there. He's wearing a black jacket and a tan button-down shirt.
Thank you. Your Honor, may the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
The record so reflects.
Thank you. What did you know, or can you describe what you knew about Jan Jackson?
Yeah, so they had lived across the street from us for probably about 10 years. I wouldn't say I interacted with them too much, but when I walked my dogs, they walked their dogs. We would just have friendly conversation. I would see them, doing yard work, but no, really close relationship, but more just talking about school, current events, just in passing.
What about Melissa Jackson?
Melissa Jackson, about the same. I think I saw her also out in her garden a lot, but it would really just be when we were passing, when I was walking the dogs, we'd just say hi.
And what's your age difference between Alex Jackson?
I believe 3 years. Yep.
What about Sabrina Jackson?
4 years.
Can you describe what you knew or saw about Sabrina Jackson?
Yeah, I knew Sabrina was younger than me. She also went to Kennedy, but I don't think there was very much overlap with any type of groups or classes or anything. Sabrina did take care of our dogs when my family went on vacation, but I wouldn't say I was very close with her. But again, I would see her running, also walking her dog, but we did not exchange a lot of words.
Where'd you go to high school at?
I also went to Kennedy High School.
What about Alex Jackson? What'd you know of him?
Alex Jackson, I also knew he went to Kennedy. I didn't really see him outside as much. I think maybe a handful of times over the course of the 10 years, I would see him out with his parents on a walk or something, but I talked to him probably the least of all the family members.
Ever observe or notice any issues among the family?
I didn't observe anything.
Have any problems yourself with any member of the Jackson family?
No, I did not.
Seemed like a nice, friendly neighborhood family.
Yeah, based off my experience, nothing out of the ordinary.
Everyone was polite to you and your family members.
Yep.
Were you home on June 15th of 2021?
Yes, I was.
when did you become aware that something happened at the Jackson home?
It was earlier in the morning, probably between 7 to 8 o'clock. That's just when we noticed kind of a presence outside of our house. I believe it was like fire trucks, ambulance, some police cars, but we weren't aware of anything that was happening until later in the morning when I guess a detective had came up to our front door and just wanted to talk to like my dad and I or whoever was there.
And not asking about any particular details of the conversations that you had, and I'm sure you weren't staring at times in the morning, but did you ever notice anything out of the ordinary besides having firefighters and law enforcement in the neighborhood?
No, I didn't.
And as you stated, you became aware of this somewhere between in the 7s to 8 o'clock in the morning. Ever see anyone that appeared to not belong in the neighborhood besides law enforcement and firefighters?
No, I didn't.
Ever see anybody that seemed alarming or concerning to you, wondering what this person's doing in the neighborhood?
No.
And it sounds like you weren't up all throughout the morning, so you weren't staring out your window, but there was nothing that was caught alarming to you.
No.
Miss Yang, just for demonstrative purposes, I'm going to pull up a map of the neighborhood, and if I can, I'd like you to identify which house is yours and which one's the Jackson house. And you should have a screen to your left and have it as well.
Is any issue?
Oh, no, Your Honor. I just wanted to be able to see.
All right. Are you asking to publish this, Mr.
Yes, Your Honor.
Shearer? All right.
So, Ms. Yang, we're doing a bird's eye view of the neighborhood. Do you know whose house this is that I am using the mouse cursor, kind of going towards the right center, right above the words of Scarlet Oak Court Northeast?
Yeah, that was the Jackson's house.
And then moving the pointer from the Jackson's house has been identified in this demonstrative, going across the cul-de-sac, kind of towards the center of this photograph in the middle, more 3/4 up. Whose house is this?
That's my parents' house.
Thank you, Ms. Yang. No further questions.
Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Yang.
Good morning.
Do you know what time you woke up on the morning of June 15th?
I don't know the exact time, but I would say probably around 7:30. That was the time I was waking up generally.
So you don't know if it was any earlier or later that morning?
No, but I don't think it was earlier than 7.
Mr. Johnson, sorry to interrupt. Would you mind turning on your microphone? Thank you.
That morning, did you hear any shots?
No, I did not.
Anything that sounded like fireworks?
No, I did not.
Prior to the police arriving, did you have any reason to believe that anything had gone on over at the Jackson house?
I just saw the fire truck, so I knew something had happened, but I didn't know if there was anything else.
Did you see any sort of unusual vehicle driving around the cul-de-sac about 6 o'clock in the morning that morning?
No.
Do you know if your Nest camera captured that vehicle?
No.
No, you don't know?
No, I don't know, sorry.
And again, you weren't awake then?
No, I was not.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Any redirect, Mr. Shearer?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Yang, thank you. You are free to go.
Your Honor, may we approach real quick?
You may.
state would call Edwin Downey to the stand.
All right. Good morning, sir. Are you Mr. Downey? All right, Mr. Downey, I'm going to have you come on up here, and there's the furthest chair to my left. I'm going to ask that you have a seat over there, if you would. Sorry.
I was going to get a drink.
There should be water in there, and cups there as well, so I'll give you a second to have a seat and pour yourself a drink.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Downey, that microphone is live. I'd ask that you just adjust it to suit your needs, and once you're settled, I'm going to go ahead and swear you in, so I'd ask that you raise your right hand, sir. Mr. Downey, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving this morning will be the truth?
Yes.
Okay, and you put your hand down. And then, Mr. Downey, for the record, can you please provide me with your first name and your last name and spell them both?
Edwin, Edwin, Downey, Dlwney.
All right, thank you. Mr. Scheer?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good?
Mr. Dowling, are you currently employed?
No, I'm retired.
And where do you currently reside?
Loveland, Colorado.
Prior to living in Colorado, where did you reside?
In Cedar Rapids.
And where at in Cedar Rapids?
4330 Oakleaf Court, Northeast, Cedar Rapids, since 2003, I think.
And when did you move?
We moved the end of September of 2021.
So were you still residing at this?
I'm sorry, the end of August.
Thank you, sir. So at the end of August of 2021 is when you left the area?
Yes,
And so were you residing at this residence still on June 15th of 2021?
I was.
Were you familiar with who reside at 4414 Oakleaf Court Northeast?
If that's the house, 2 houses down where the Jacksons resided, I was.
So you were familiar with the Jacksons?
Yes,
And when I say the Jacksons, I'm talking about Jan Jackson, is that correct?
yes,
Melissa Jackson,
yes,
Sabrina Jackson,
yes,
and Alex Jackson.
yes,
Do you see Alex Jackson in the courtroom today?
I do.
Would you just please point to that individual and just describe the color of shirt or suit jacket that person's wearing?
He's at that end of the table in a dark jacket.
And so are you pointing to the individual to my left with the goatee?
Yes,
Thank you. Your Honor, may the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
The record so reflects.
Were the Jacksons residing at this home back on June 15th of 2021?
yes.
Do you remember when the Jacksons moved into the neighborhood?
I estimate about 10 years ago, and just looking at some articles in the paper, I think they probably moved in 11, 12 years ago from now. I don't know exactly.
So you guys had lived in the neighborhood together for some time.
Since they moved in.
Did you know them very well?
We knew them casually. We knew, I say we, my wife and I, just knew them casually as neighbors, would run into them in the neighborhood, and my wife knew Melissa fairly well because they were walking partners for some extended period of time.
And I'm going to have you to speak up a little bit, okay, sir?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So I think you said that your wife knew Melissa a little bit better because they were walking partners.
Right, but we knew the other family members casually. Alex has cut our grass several times in the past. The sister Sabrina used to watch our pets, our cats, when we were out. things like that.
How would you describe Jan Jackson?
Nice enough guy. Didn't know him well. One compliment I could give him is there's a house between our house and their house. And those people's neighbors in between, when the parents were gone, they would have heaters go out, fire alarms and things like that. And Jack and Jan would show up in the middle of the night to help them. That always impressed me.
What about Melissa? I mean, obviously, you said that your wife knew a little bit better, but how would you describe Melissa Jackson?
Very pleasant, very talkative, very nice. You know, they would meet at the end of our driveway a lot to go walking. Often I was at work, but I would see her probably more often than the other family members, but very nice.
What about Sabrina?
Sabrina was a sweetheart.
And, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, sir.
That's the best way I can describe her.
How about Alex?
Alex seemed like a nice enough guy to me. He was probably the one I had the most limited contact with over those years. I found him to be very quiet spoken. I associated that with, you know, a young teenager and an old guy in his 60s, you know, not a whole lot to say, but found him fine.
When you would out and about see the Jacksons, would you guys acknowledge each other?
Yes, because, well, my wife walked all the time, and when the pandemic hit, and I was working from home, that got me motivated. I walked virtually every morning.
What time would you usually go on walks?
Well, it varied, but I usually leave around 7:30, I would guess.
Would you walk with anybody or by yourself?
In the morning, it would be myself. I would often then take a walk with my wife at lunch.
And if you were out on a walk and you saw a member of the family member, strike that. While you were sometimes out on walks and if you would see members of the Jackson family, would you guys acknowledge each other?
Absolutely.
As we came closer to the events on June 15th of 2021, was there any interactions that you had with any member of the Jackson family that you felt was different than you've had before?
Yes.
And just describe the interaction, and if you had conversations, I'm not looking for that, just describe how the interaction was.
Okay, I recall two. First would be the Wednesday before, the incident occurred on the 15th, or whatever the Wednesday was before that. I was on my morning walk, and most mornings when I'd leave my driveway, I'd take a right, which went right to the end of the street by where the Jacksons live. And, you know, over the months, I would occasionally see Jan out there because he would let his dog out. He would let his dog out to do his business, and Jan would stand on the front porch, and we would acknowledge each other and exchange pleasantries. But that morning, I took another right along the side of their house, and as I was coming back, it had to be Wednesday because it was a recycle day and the bins were out. And as I was approaching their house, I saw Jan come out, walking down this little short driveway with a bag to put in one of the bins. And I don't recall exactly, but I either said hi or was getting ready to say hi or wave at him. But he literally stared at me for 1 second and just turned around, walked right back in the house.
Why did you find that was strange or odd?
Because we had always exchanged pleasantries before.
Besides that, though, you didn't know what was going on inside.
No. But I found it odd enough that when I got back to my house, I just commented to my wife, just kind of told her what happened. But I didn't really think much about it after that.
Any other times leading up that you had a strange or not normal interaction with any members of the Jackson family before June 15th?
Well, unusual, that Saturday before, whatever that day it was, I was walking. It was probably later in the morning because I wasn't working. And it was on the other side of the neighborhood. And here comes Jan and Melissa, and I believe they had their dog Hero with them, and they were coming right at me. And previous to that, maybe the day before, my wife had told me that Melissa had told her, we were downsizing because we were preparing to move in a few months, and we had some fencing we were going to get rid of, and Melissa had indicated an interest in it. So they came from one direction, I came from the other direction, and we stopped literally 3 feet apart, and I said, hey, said hi, and you're going to come get the fencing. And as I recall it, Melissa looked at me, then she looked at Jan and looked back at me, and she goes, well, I think so, we'll let you know. But the unusual part was Jan was 3 feet away from me, and I don't recall him saying a single word. Didn't acknowledge me at all, and I thought that was unusual.
And did they end up getting the fencing from you?
The next day, Sunday, Alex and his mom drove their truck over to our house and back down our driveway. It's a side load driveway.
Anything strange about that interaction?
No, Alex and I had to do the work while Melissa and my wife talked in the backyard, and we carried 2 or 3 things of fencing around together. The only conversation that I didn't quite grasp was my wife had told me, because this is all second or third hand, my wife had told me that Melissa.
Sorry, and I'm not
Okay.
trying to interrupt you.
Okay.
I'm not really interested in
That's
exactly what your wife told you or anything.
Yeah.
I want to know, how was your interaction with Alex?
it was okay.
And
Nothing unusual.
willing to help and move the stuff for you?
Yeah, it just took a few minutes, and we all stood around the end of the truck and talked for a few minutes. I asked Alex if he knew what a LP record and a turntable was, and we got a little chuckle out of that.
Besides that, quiet like he normally was around you?
Yes.
So let's talk about the morning of June 15th of 2021. Do you recall what time you got up?
By the time I got up, no, not really.
Did you do anything that morning?
I took my morning walk.
And normally, what time do you take your walk?
I'd usually leave around 7 or 7:30, but with the pandemic, my hour's a little more flexible. It may have been closer to 8. I would usually walk about 2 miles.
And what direction did you go this time?
This time, instead of turning right towards the Jackson's house, which is the way I usually would start, I turned left.
And when you left that morning, see anything out of the ordinary?
No,
Anything strange that caught your attention?
no,
See anything down towards the Jackson residence that you thought was odd or alarming?
not until all hell broke loose. Before that, no.
And while you were on your walk, minus seeing law enforcement or firefighters, anything else that seemed odd or strange?
No,
See anybody in the neighborhood that you've never seen before?
not that I recall.
See anybody wearing all black and green shoes?
No,
See anybody wearing a mask?
not that I recall.
How would you describe the weather that day, if you can remember?
The weather?
Yeah.
I don't remember. It wasn't raining. I don't remember if it was sunny or overcast. Seems to me it was kind of sunny that day.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Ms. Garner? No question. All right. Then, Mr. Downey, thank you. You are free to step down.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think yesterday we kind of talked about the daily schedule, told you there'd be a mid-morning break every day. I think we're going to take that break now. So, again, these clocks in the courtroom are not accurate. I have about close to 10:30, so we'll resume at about approximately 10:45. So, and while we're on break, again, I'm going to do this every time. I'm just going to remind you of the admonition that I gave you previously. Again, don't talk about the case amongst yourselves. And keep an open mind, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you.
All rise.
All right, go ahead and have a seat. I'm just going to make a quick record on exhibit number 6. And I'm just going to summarize the discussion, and if everybody's in agreement, just ask you to tell me that you're in agreement. If you want to add or subtract from what I have to say, please do so when I give you an opportunity. But my understanding is that the exhibit number 6, the camera footage from the Yang residence is roughly 6 hours in length. Mr. Johnson indicated he has no objection generally. He didn't realize it was going to be all 6 hours, hadn't reviewed every minute of it, and just wanted to make sure that, make sure that there was nothing in there that he had an objection to. So essentially, I'm going to give him a little time to do that and let me know if he has any objection to any specific portion of Exhibit 6, and we can take that up at that point. But Exhibit 6 will be admitted in some way, shape, or form, presumably in its current form, but if there's anything objectionable, we'll give Mr. Johnson an opportunity to raise that, and we can take it up if that should occur. So does that summarize our discussion, Mr. Scheer?
It does, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson? Yes, sir. All right. Anything else we need to take up on the record before we all take a break as well?
Not this time, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson? No. All right, then we also will be in recess.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Just waiting for Kathy, and then we still got 2 minutes.
These on two different inputs, or do they just have to unplug and if we plug in it up?
If I understand, you have each school has their own HDMI port.
Yeah, yes, what she said. Are we waiting for Mr. Shear? All right. Mr. Johnson, any idea when you'll have an idea on number 6 for me?
Well, we're just gonna fast forward through.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
I don't know. Monday,
Okay.
is that okay?
Yeah, or you can just email me anytime.
Yeah.
So, I was just asking when he would have an idea on number 6, when he, so. Yep. Terry, just as soon as Mr. Shear comes back, we'll be ready to go. Sure. Yeah, I think it's Curtis. C. Hopefully. They had the names. Let's see, so. Mr. Shear, you guys anticipating this will be done by noon? Okay. All right. We'll break at noon then, just so be prepared for that with your question.
Look at the clock and when it's time to
Yeah.
break.
Yep, no. We'll go by actual time, not these times.
Oh, I'm gonna do that. I have a 15-minute initial search and then later on, 6 minutes. So, I just think it's time. That's all right.
ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and have a seat. Okay, we are back on the record. We have our jurors, counsel, Mr. Jackson, all present. Mr. Scheer, is the state prepared to call its next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. The state would call Officer Curtis Buckles to the stand.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Buckles. Just go ahead and have a seat over there, sir. You can go ahead and have a seat. And that microphone is on. We'd ask that you use it. It can be adjusted. Mr. Buckles, I'm going to go ahead and swear you in. If you please raise your right hand. Sir, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving today will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And for the record, can you please provide us with your first and last name and spell them both, please?
Kurt, C-U-R-T, Buckles, B-U-C-K-L-E-S.
All right, Mr. Scheer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Officer Buckles.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good.
Officer Buckles, can you briefly tell us what your current position is with the Cedar Rapids Police Department?
I am currently assigned to the K-9 unit, so my duties are both patrol and I have the explosive detection dual-purpose K-9.
And I'm going to have to make sure you kind of speak up a little bit louder so we can all hear you, okay?
Okay.
When did you become employed with the City of Cedar Rapids Police Department?
I was hired by Cedar Rapids Police Department in June of 2005.
Can you just please give us a brief history of your training and education in order to be a certified peace officer?
After graduating high school, I attended Kirkwood Community College in 2001 to 2003, where I graduated with my associate's degree in criminal justice. I then went on to the University of Northern Iowa and obtained my bachelor's degree in criminology and graduated from there in 2005.
And are you a certified law enforcement officer throughout the state of Iowa?
Yes, upon being hired by the Cedar Rapids Police Department in June of 2005, I attended the Law Enforcement Academy through the Cedar Rapids Police Department.
And you are currently a K-9 officer assigned with the partner Corsa. Could you spell her name, please?
K-O-R-S-A.
How long have you been assigned with Corsa?
I got Corsa in May of 2019.
Prior to being a K-9 officer assigned with Corsa, what was your previous position?
When I graduated from the academy, I was a patrol officer, and in March of 2009, I applied for an opening in the K-9 unit. At that time, I was selected to be a member of the K-9 unit, and I was partnered with a dual-purpose narcotic detection dog named Narco, and I worked Narco for 10 years on the street, and I retired him at the end of April of 2019 due to age, and that is when I got K-9 Corsa as my new partner and was trained with her to be an explosive detection dual-purpose dog.
So in all, how long have you been a K-9 officer?
Almost 14 years.
And just as a K-9 officer, can you just briefly describe to me what are your duties and responsibilities?
Are you asking as in like an everyday on the street type thing?
Let's first go with it as an everyday on the street type of thing.
Okay. As I stated earlier, I am still a patrol officer on the street. I handle calls for service with other officers, but I take on the extra responsibilities and the duties with the K-9 of responding to any kind of calls for service that the K-9 could be used. For the explosive detection side of Corsa, if there's ever a call for service where there's a suspicious item, a suspicious package, something where an explosive detection dog would need to be used, say there's a call where somebody states that there's an explosive somewhere, but we don't know where, I would respond with Corsa and use Corsa to search and try to locate any possible devices. And I work with the bomb squad on those types of calls where they respond to do anything like whether they have to x-ray the picture of the item to determine what it could be. But I work with them so that Corsa can be used to deploy out using her nose to sniff and find the explosive device or determine if we have a suspicious item, whether it could be an explosive device by detecting the odors that she's trained on. For the patrol aspect of Corsa's job is anytime that there could be, say, a business or a residence, say that there was a burglary, Corsa can be used to search that house or building to potentially locate any intruders that are inside of that building or residence. She's also used for area searches. If we have somebody out in an open area that we are searching for that has possibly committed a crime, we will use the dog to search that area with her being out ahead of officers for safety reasons. And she's also trained in tracking of locating individuals leaving a possible crime scene.
And you said quite a bit there, Officer Buckles. I'm going to come back later on to kind of break some of that apart, okay?
Okay.
But just in general also, what type of certification does Corsa and yourself have?
Upon going through a training course with Corsa, at that time was NAPWADA, and once we trained through that school, I had to meet with a trainer from the NAPWADA program. And they have certain set standards in various explosive detection venues that Corsa has to complete and has to pass their standards for locating the odors in those venues. And then on the patrol side of it, she has to be able to do a building search, a track, bite work, and various things. And they have standards for each category. And I have to run through scenarios of those categories that they set up, and I have to be able to complete the various things that they are looking for, their requirements in each of those venues.
And I will talk about those requirements in detail a little bit later on, but have you passed each one of these standards that are required in order for you to be NAPWA certified? Yes,
I passed the NAPWADA certifications in July of 19. That is when I completed the K-9 school with Corsa. I also completed those standards again in fall of 2019 so that I was on the same rotating schedule of certification with the rest of our K-9 unit in our department. 2020 was waived because of COVID, and then once again in 2021 I certified with her.
And what about currently, what about 2022?
Yes, 2022, I certified in the fall also.
And when will you test to be certified in 2023?
In the fall. I don't have an exact date, but we try to line it up in the area of September and October.
Can you tell me what NAPWA stands for?
National Police Working Dog Association.
With regards to being certified by NAPWA, do they actually go through scenarios and events, or do they just kind of give you a rubber stamp certification?
They have to set up scenarios for each event, and then you are, whether it's on the explosive detection side of it, I have to do a scenario where there's multiple vehicles. Of course, it has to sniff all the vehicles. Some vehicles have hides on them, some vehicles don't. I have to be able to go through, and she has to indicate on the vehicles that have odors without missing. And I have to tell the judge that what vehicles have explosive odors on them, and call my indication on those vehicles. Then we have a tracking where they have a track that's laid for that sits for an approximate certain amount of time, and then I have to bring Corsa up. They give me a general starting area, and I have to deploy Corsa with her tracking commands and have her locate that track, and I have to track with Corsa to the completion of the end of that track. We also have a building search where Corsa and myself have to enter into a building She has to be deployed out to find what we would classify as a decoy, would be a person hiding in the building. And she has to give me an indication and alert to me where that decoy is hiding.
Once again, we talked a lot about that. We're probably going to break some of that down a little bit later on. Is NAPWA recognized by any other agency, or do they do training for anybody else? Or just explain to me how big NAPWA is.
So how we got started with NAPWADA was we were previously, before NAPWADA, we trained and certified through American Working Dog, which was out of Indiana. Financially, the department was looking at, instead of sending 7 of us canine handlers down to Indiana every year to certify, would it be more cost-effective to go to a program that we could bring somebody in-house to certify us? At that time, we started looking around. We started looking at the different programs that are out there. There are a lot of them. We like the standards in NAPWADA. We talked to different people in the, I guess you would call it the canine world, that from other agencies that had good things to say about NAPWADA. At that time, Sergeant Chris Bieber was in charge of our canine unit. Himself and 2 of our canine officers went down to a NAPWADA certification conference, and those 2 handlers competed in all the certification courses at that conference to test the program out, to see what we thought of it. They liked what they saw and how they felt about the program and the way that they ran things, and it's just the good credibility of this program. Therefore, we decided to switch over to NAPWADA, and at that point in time when we did, we then brought certified instructors / judges through NAPWADA here, and then those judges would set up the different venues for us to run our dogs through.
Who are the officers that you sent from your Cedar Rapids Police Department agency to be certified by them to be trainers?
Let me correct you there, too. Certified to be trainers is what you're asking?
Yes, and maybe I poorly phrased that, but I thought you said that there was 2 officers sent to review the program to see if it was something that you could do in-house training.
Correct. So let me clarify that. They didn't go down there to be certified judges. They went down there to to run their dogs through the venues that they have per certification. So officers, if I recall right, was Officer Sean Hall and Officer Amy Schumann. They both have narcotic detection dogs and also patrol dogs. So they did all the venues that were set up for the patrol, the building search, the track, the area search. They also did all the narcotic events. And then they had their opinion on what they felt about the program. And then we talked about it as a whole unit and made the decision that we were going to switch to NAPWADA. When we then certified as an entire unit under NAPWADA, we brought in judges that are members through NAPWADA that have nothing to do with our agency.
How many canine officers are in your unit?
7.
Has any of the canines not been certified by NAPWADA?
All of our current dogs right now, take that back. We do have majority of them. We do have some new dogs that certified through a different program out of Tar Heel Canine when they were down there with their dogs doing the canine school.
Has Corsa ever not been certified?
No.
Has Corsa ever had a problem passing the requirements to be certified?
No.
In the binder right in front of you, that white binder, I would like you to turn to State's Exhibit number 3. There are 4 documents that are consistent with State's Exhibit number 3. Would you look at those 4 documents? Tell me when you're done looking at them.
I'm done.
Do you recognize those 4 documents that are consistent with what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit number 3?
Yes.
And when just looking at those 4 documents, what are those in general?
The first page is a certification for Corsa and myself through the National American Police Working Dog Association.
What is the second page?
The second page is the same thing, a certificate of November of 2009 for a certification through NAPWADA, which would have been my second certification that year.
And not to, I think you might have misspoken, but Officer Buckles, you said 2009. What's the actual year?
Sorry, 2019.
Thank you, sir. And what about page 3?
That would be a certification through NAPWADA, again for Corsa and myself, for October of 2021.
And how about page 4?
Page 4 is our most recent certification that took place in September of 2022 through National Tactical Police Dog Association.
What's the importance to be having these certifications?
Sorry, can you say that again?
What's the importance to have certifications for you and your dog?
Through K9, you are required to pass certification testing once a year. So these certificates show that per the organization that has those standards, that I was able to complete those standards with Corsa and pass all the testing that they have through their organization.
And if you or Corsa did not pass the standards in order to be certified, what would happen to you or Corsa as in working on the streets?
If I was not able to pass those tests, I would not be able to work her on the street in the areas that she failed, and I would have to go back and try to recertify at a different time.
And so specifically areas that she has passed in is tracking and explosives.
And building search and bite work.
And when looking at States Exhibits 3, which is page 1, 2, 3, and 4 of that exhibit, are those fair and accurate copies of your certifications?
Yes, they are.
Have they been altered or changed in any way?
Not to my recollection.
Thank you. Your Honor, I would ask that States Exhibits 3, which contains pages 1 through 4, be omitted into the record.
Any objection? You may. I thought you had a set.
No objection.
All right, then, States Exhibit 3 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Like I said, Officer Buckles, I'm going to go back and talk a little bit more about these later on, but let's now move forward to June 15th of 2021. Do you recall this date?
Yes, I do.
Were you working on this date?
Yes, I was.
And what capacity were you working as?
I was working as a patrol officer with my canine partner, Corsa.
What shifts or what time was your shifts begin?
I began at 7 o'clock in the morning.
And what time did your shift end normally?
At 2:12
2:12 p.m.?
p.m.
Do you remember what the weather was like back on June 15th of 2021?
It was a summer morning, and it was obviously warm being, the time of year, but I don't recall it being overly hot. I mean, it was early in the morning.
Do you know if it was raining?
I do not recall it raining at all during that date of June 15th.
Almost just like a typical hot summer Iowa day?
Correct.
On that date, at around 8 a.m., were you dispatched anywhere?
Yes, at approximately 8:23 hours on that date, I was dispatched to 4414 Oakleaf Court Northeast.
Why were you dispatched to this location?
Well, I was on a call for service at that time, and I heard radio traffic go out that dispatch was sending officers to this location for a subject that had been shot.
And did you receive information that an individual had contacted 911 about being shot?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I would like to omit and publish for the jury State's Exhibit Number 1, which is the 911 call that was made by the defendant on June 15th of 2021. There is 2 calls labeled 1A and 1B.
Any objection? All right, then, State's Exhibit 1, I guess, or 1A and 1B is or are admitted.
Thank you. And, Your Honor, just to give an idea of time frames, the total time with these 2 calls combined is about 15 minutes.
So do you want me to?
We're ready for the system to be ready so we can
All right.
publish.
Okay.
Our speakers don't work without that, Judge.
And for the record purpose, the first call that we are playing is State's Exhibit 1, call labeled 1A.
Lynn County Sheriff, where is your emergency? Someone broke into our house. Our address is 4414 Oak Leaf Court, Northeast. I've been shot. My other family member's been shot. I need help immediately. Okay, I'm getting Cedar Rapids on the line here. I've been shot in the foot. Okay, sir, stay on the line. Stay with me. They should be answering. Give them the address right away.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
4414 Oak Leaf Court, Northeast.
Okay, what's going on?
Someone broke in.
Okay.
I've been shot.
You've been shot?
My dad's been shot.
Okay, hold on just a second. Are they still there?
No, they left.
They left. Did they come inside the house?
Yeah.
Okay, where were you shot at?
Downstairs.
No, on your body. On your body, where have you been shot?
Foot.
I'm sorry, where?
Left foot.
In your
Left
foot? Okay, how old are you?
20?
How old are you?
20.
20, okay. I've got help coming. Just stay on the line with me, okay? Do you know who it was that broke in?
What's that?
Do you know who broke in?
No.
Okay. Did you get a look at them?
No.
Could you tell if it was a man or a woman?
Man.
A man. Could you tell if they were white, black, Hispanic? That's okay if you don't know. Just stay on the line with me, okay? What's your first name?
I'm Alex.
Alex, is that help coming, okay? Just stay on the line with me and don't hang up, okay? The number I have is
I think I spooked him off.
You think what?
I'm letting him run.
You're doing just fine, Alex. Just stay on the line with me. What do you think happened?
I don't know.
Okay. Is it just your foot?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
That's for me.
Okay, do you have a dry, clean cloth or towel you can put on there so we can control the bleeding?
I tried to put a belt on my leg, but it broke.
You tried to do a tourniquet and it broke?
Yeah.
Okay, do you have a cloth or a towel, a shirt, anything that's clean and dry?
I can go get one.
Okay, if you can get one, just keep me on the phone, okay? Anything will do. Just something that's clean and dry so we can control the bleeding. Do you know how they got in the house?
The back door, I think.
The back door?
It's open, so
Okay.
I'm not an expert.
No, that's all right, Alex. I just didn't know what you saw and what you didn't, okay? We've got them coming, and they're coming lights and sirens. I've got an ambulance coming for you. You're doing great, Alex. You're doing good. Is anybody else home with you?
My sister,
Your sister? Where's she at?
her bedroom.
In her bedroom is up. Okay. She should be in her bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. What's your sister's name? Sabrina?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Alex. I just want to make sure that we know who's supposed to be in that house, okay?
Yeah.
Just you and your sister for now, right?
Oh.
Did you find anything dry? Anything clean that we can put on the foot?
I'm trying to put cloth on.
Okay. Just put pressure on where it's bleeding, okay? As much as you can stand. Don't lift it up to look, okay? That's how we're going to control the bleeding.
Okay.
Okay. This person that you saw in your house, did they leave out the back door?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the time delay? How long ago was this?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you remember
Some time
anything?
ago,
Okay.
I just got my phone.
Okay. Do you think it was like an hour ago or like 5 minutes ago? You don't know? 10 minutes ago?
10 minutes?
Okay. That's all right. I understand. You're in some... Okay. Hold on. Okay.
Your Honor, now for record purposes, the state would play on State's Exhibit 1, the second 911 call, which is labeled 1B. Go ahead.
Hello?
Alex, yep, I said I'm coming. I'm just talking on the radio too, okay?
Okay.
Do you remember what color shirt or what color hair this guy had? Anything about him?
Black?
You think it was a black male or a black shirt?
Both?
Okay.
Ooh.
And was it a long gun or was it a short gun, like a handgun?
A long gun.
It was a long gun? Like a rifle style?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. He says he's a... Okay, I've got him coming right there on Oak Leaf Court, so they're almost there. Okay, where are you in the house, Alex?
Downstairs.
You're in the lower level? Okay.
My room.
In your room? Okay.
Oh.
Are you able to meet them at the back door? Are you able to walk?
If
If not, just stay in your room.
I'm in my room.
Okay, Alex? Is that back door still wide open?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to tell him to come in that back door, okay? Okay, hold on just a second. Just you and your sister in the house, right?
Yeah.
No parents or grandparents, animals?
My mom's here too.
Your mom is there too?
Yeah.
Okay, so you, your sister, and your mom?
Yeah.
Okay.
My dad's here, but
4414. Do you have a house number? Do you have like a phone line?
4414.
No, like a house, like a
It's like on the
landline.
corner.
Do you have like, does mom have a cell phone or sister, or do you guys have a house like phone, like a landline? Or do you,
Yeah.
do you have a landline? Do you know the house phone number?
892 4025.
892-4025?
I think so.
Okay, that's what you think it is?
I can't remember now, so. Oh,
All right, Alex. Do you know if mom and sister are safe? Did the guy go upstairs?
well, I don't see them.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure that,
I
have
hear
you
a
seen
phone
your mom or
number.
you hear it ringing?
Yeah.
The house number's ringing?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's us calling. We're trying to get a hold of sister or mom, just to make sure they're safe. I've got officers all around the house. I just want to make sure that I keep you on the line, okay? Nobody's answering that house phone. Are you sure anybody's home?
They should be.
Okay. Does your sister have a cell phone?
Yeah.
Do you know her number by heart? Do you know that?
No.
Okay.
Ooh.
You're doing good, Alex. Alex, do you have any weapons downstairs? Any guns, knives, anything like that?
No, but there's a
No.
gun on the floor.
There is. That's not yours?
It's ours, but we got shot by it.
So he took your gun and shot you?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on just a second. Let me make sure. I tell my officers this. Hold on.
Ah. Oh. Ah.
Very last house on the dead end on the right? No, you're the first house, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay.
Ah.
Are you?
Oh. Yes. Oh. That's the doorbell, if you're wondering.
Okay, they're coming into your backyard, okay?
Oh. Hey. Oh. Ah.
I can hear it.
Ugh.
Okay, I've got officers in the back and the front. They're just trying to get mom and sister to come to the door if they're there, okay? That's why they're ringing your doorbell.
Okay.
Okay, is your driveway, does that come out on Scarlet Oak?
Sure?
Do you know? Because the house that they're at, which I think I can hear your doorbell, the driveway's on Scarlet Oak, but you have an Oak
Side
Street
road.
address. Yeah, okay. Yep, you're right.
Oh. Yes. That's a lot of wood.
Could sister and mom be gone, do you think?
Hopefully.
Okay. Okay, I've got officers coming to that back door. You're still in your bedroom?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in the hallway.
Do you think you know who did this to you?
No.
Okay.
Oh.
Alex, do you still have that cloth on your foot?
I'm putting pressure on it.
Okay, good. Good job.
I'm down here in the hallway.
Let me know when they're right with you.
They're coming in now.
Okay, let me know when they're right there with you, and then we'll disconnect.
Yes.
Alex, are they right there with you?
Where I can see them. Oh, I have my hand on my foot. They're down the hallway.
On scene and one more. Alex, they're right with you?
Okay.
Officer Buckles, when you arrived on scene, were you equipped with a body camera?
Yes, I was.
And was that working properly?
Yes.
And did your body camera record your interactions when you arrived on scene to when you made contact with the defendant?
Yes, it did.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Officer Buckles, I'm handing you what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 2. Have you had a chance to review that CD?
I've reviewed my body camera, yes.
And when reviewing the body cam footage, is it a correct and accurate copy of your interactions that were done on June 15th of 2021?
Yes.
And any corrections or changes that have been made that you're aware of?
No.
Your Honor, at this time, I would ask to admit State's Exhibit number 2, which is the body cam footage from Officer Curtis Buckles.
Any objection? No, Your Honor. All right, then, Exhibit 2 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Are you wanting to publish this?
That was going to be my next request, Your Honor, permission to publish the body cam footage. And Your Honor, for record purposes, we are first looking at State's Exhibit number 2, Buckles Body Cam 1, which is approximately 16 minutes long.
Just to be clear, are there two parts to Exhibit 2?
There are two parts, Your Honor.
All right.
State's Exhibit 2 contains Buckles Body Cam 1 and Buckles Body Cam number 2.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
He's bleeding bad, we need to get into him.
Right. There's people in the house. There's no reason they can't.
Yeah. Let me grab Corsa and I'll just take her with our side.
We're calling that landline now and nobody's answering. You can sister for sure and maybe mom.
we're starting to move up towards the house brown, and myself going towards the back with Corsa, and then Barbara's going to come up from the house.
This one, right?
Well, the thing was there was a court and then a court.
Yeah.
But it did show the far dead end.
But it's the one in the corner.
Okay, and this is the very last house at the dead end on the right, correct?
We have a big dog in the back porch.
Okay.
4414. Is that right?
4414.
4414. Alright, we're on the back side. It looks like there's egress from the basement, so we're trying to get on that here. You say you rung the doorbell?
Barbara, go again.
I don't see any open doors.
Do we need to go up and see if this
Yeah, I don't really want to be in front of the window if this is,
Yeah.
Tell you what, hold right here. I'm going to go long and I'm going to get behind that tree. I'm going to get a look on the backside.
I still think something. We're Brown's spinning out to get a look, so we're not walking right in front of these windows. We're wondering if it's not a swatting call. Okay. Sarge, you want to come with me since he's covering? So right at the end of this landing here is sitting open, so we're going to have windows either way we go, so I think we're just going to have to approach. So you want to come up and be my lethal force, and we'll go up and see what we can see. All right. Brown, Sarge and I are going to approach and try to get to the door and see what we can see from there.
Police department! Where are you at? What's that?
We got contact with one subject in the house. Talking to him.
Alright, laying on the floor right there. You down here by
Okay,
yourself?
there's a subject down. Can you put your hands out to the side where I can see them?
I have my hand on my foot.
Wait a minute. Is there more than one?
There's two, yeah.
Okay. This guy looks like he's got a gunshot to the head.
115. One is gunshot in the head.
He looks.
There is
See what the deal is. We got ammo out here.
Starting level 52. Justin, you guys, Corey, you and Justin, you upstairs? Kurt, you want to go upstairs with them?
Yep.
You want to go for the flight?
This all needs to be cleared out though. We got a door here.
Who's this down here? Who are you?
That's your dad?
What happened?
What happened?
He came down. There was a man.
Who shot your dad? Who else is here?
My sister.
She's back?
Yeah, she's in her room.
Is she okay?
I think so. What's her name? Sabrina?
Is that a room right there?
Sabrina! You already got this behind us? I got that. Let's just, well, it's a deep launcher. Sea Rapids Police! Sorry. Third victim. Third victim? Yeah. Two. Clear. Yeah. You're good there. 115, we have 3 victims. Start us.
We're gonna go.
At least 3 ambulances.
Barbara, come in front of me. You come in front of me, Barbara.
Yeah.
Brown, you go help Kaczynski, and then we'll take you upstairs.
I'll start here.
Police department! Stand up! You're here!
Okay, Sarge, I'm right here, so. Go, Barber, back him up. I'm holding these rooms.
Corey, come on behind her.
Plus. Of course, the plus. No! We're clearing the house! These guys tell fire to back up. They're trying to come through the front door. We're clearing this house. Come on up the top of the stairs. Over here has not been cleared yet.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Sea Rapids Police, if anyone's inside, sound off now. Police department.
is that going to be the wife?
Yep.
Okay. Doors open in the back. To the
Bathroom. Doors open to the
692. We have a 4th victim. Upstairs bedroom.
Alright. Tim, you're coming through on here, doorway.
Clear over here. Okay, so, hey, we got him. Is anybody down tending to him? He's over by Dad now in the firearm. No.
Hey, 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 stop moving!
Yeah. I'll
Get
get
him
him
with an ambulance.
Yep. There's not a third floor in this.
There's nothing more further?
Not that I know of.
This is all clear back here?
Yeah.
That's all been cleared.
And the basement's been completely cleared, right? Garage is cleared.
Yeah.
We did. Corey
Garage,
did that, so-
yep. Whatever was broke up in the basement with all
Where
that.
was mom in here?
Mom's laying right in here.
Where's she shot at?
I'm guessing the head because there's blood on the pillow.
So we got, the whole house has been cleared, right?
I believe so.
Corey, I didn't, what's Corey's name?
He just said 3 are DOA, 1 is injured.
I think let's take him out back.
Yep. I'm gonna go out the front door with Corsa, put her away.
Yep, and then just have fire and area come around back.
Go to the back. They're bringing one subject out the back door who's injured.
Okay.
One guy. We got
One patient?
one
Agent
injured.
4 and Adam 39.
Okay, okay.
PD was like,
Don't go in the front yet. You're gonna want just meet them down at the back door. Brown, why don't you go with your down?
I did go all the way down there real quick, but
You happen to have anything in there?
nothing on you're not supposed to have. Okay, we just want to make sure that everybody's safe. There's a possibility that
I've been pretty good.
Okay. Alex, what's your date of birth? Okay. Oh, 2000.
2000? Okay. Make you 20 even?
20, right? Is that what you
Yeah.
said? Okay, all right.
What hospital are you going to?
I don't know.
Do you prefer or
I don't care.
what? I'll take him to Luke's. Luke's? Okay.
That's probably closer.
I'm gonna put him up here and then Tim Mike's gonna follow him down the line.
692 to 800.
20-year-old son that was shot in the foot is being transported by area to St. Luke's right now. Three obvious, and then the 20-year-old is injured to the foot, I believe. Ten-4. We got some shell casings right here.
Okay.
We have confirmed all three.
Yeah.
Is that it for right now, Mr. Chair?
Right now, Your Honor. In a second. Officer Buckles, we saw a lot of things in that 16-minute video I want to kind of go over and talk to you about, okay?
Okay.
So, when you arrived on scene, there appeared to be other officers present. Who were those officers?
Recall being the second officer on scene. Officer Brown was first on scene, and that's who I made contact with first at our squad cars and started talking. Officer Barber showed up, and then that's when we started to approach the residents, Officer Brown and myself, along with Ken and Corsa. We went towards the back of the residences to try to get more of a tactical advantage to try to get a view of the residence that we believe was in question for this call. And our Officer Barber was going to go to the front of the residence. And then, as you can see in the video, Officer Brown and myself, once we get up to the point of the residence in question, we stood by trying to come up with a plan. Obviously, with the information that we had, we didn't know exactly what was going on with this call. And officer safety comes into a big play in a call like this. And so I held my point there, and then Sergeant Hansen showed up and came to my point. And then later in the video, you can see that Officer Kaczynski had arrived, and he is in the residence with us also.
And is that Officer Justin Kaczynski?
Yes.
And Sergeant Phil Hansen?
Yes.
And Officer Corey Barber?
Yes.
And Officer Tim Brown?
Yes.
So those were all the officers that were on scene until paramedics arrived?
That I can recall, yes.
As well until firefighters arrived?
Correct.
And not also including Corsa as well?
Correct.
Why did you take Corsa with you?
I took her with me because we didn't know exactly what was taking place. From the information that I recall from the dispatched information from the time that I heard the call go out to getting there was that a subject was in the house and had been shot. That somebody had broken into the house, so we didn't know was the person that supposedly broke into the house still in the residence or not. We didn't know exactly what we had going on, so I brought her with me. That way, once we were up at the situation, she can either be at my side like she was throughout that entire video, or if a situation arose where I needed to deploy her, I could do so.
At any time when you first brought Corsa with you into the house, were you doing any of her official duties such as searching or tracking?
No.
She seemed, to a lay person, very excited, breathing very heavy. Any concerns about that?
No, she's a working dog. She's a Belgian Malinois. They're known for having high drive. They love to work. You know, I started my shift at 7 o'clock in the morning, and this is, approximately 8:23. It's, she's just getting out the car to do something that she enjoys doing, which is working, and she's excited. Also, when she's at my side, due to her height when she's standing or sitting, and the location of the body camera that's mounted on my exterior bulletproof vest, the camera is right by her. So therefore, these cameras pick up sound very well. So it does make her breathing sound very, very loud because that camera is right very close to her head.
And as you and other officers approached the house, you're given very limited information. What was your initial thoughts of what was going on?
Well, at first, when I met with Officer Brown, he had said that, recently he had a swatting call up in that area of where this incident took place. We do get swatting calls, fake calls that come in, and it'll usually be a call that something major has happened, but then it's just a false call. So therefore, I
don't mean to interrupt you, but just to kind of clarify, though, you've never had, or no officers have any issues or calls with regards to this home before, though?
No, never before to this house.
So I just want to clarify this, what I'm talking about, and I know that there was conversations about this, like swatting call somewhere else in the area. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, what, as you were approaching, observations or you made that you processed when you're approaching this house on what to do?
Yep. So obviously with just the unknowns of what's going on, I'm thinking to myself, okay, if this incident has happened, we do have a subject who's on the line with dispatch stating that he's in the house and that he's injured. We need to get to him as soon as possible to render medical aid to him. However, we need to do it in a officer safety manner so that it's safe for us because of the unknown circumstances. Arriving to that neighborhood, there's not a lot that goes on in that neighborhood. It's a very quiet, very nice neighborhood. So to have a call like this in that neighborhood just is a little different. So then you have to, be careful with your approaches to these situations to make sure that you keep officer safety in mind. So just working up to the residents, making sure that we had the house, in question. We were making sure we had the right house, and then just trying to get to the point of the individual who was on the phone to, like I stated earlier, to render aid, but make it safe for officers.
Going back, when you first arrived in the neighborhood, what street did you take to turn into the neighborhood?
42nd Street.
And what street did you turn on to go down towards the residence?
That would be Oakleaf Court.
When you were arriving into the neighborhood or making your way to the location, did you see anybody running from the direction you were going?
No.
Did you see anybody out and about that appeared to be suspicious?
No, from what I recall, I don't recall seeing people. It was just very quiet.
Did you see anybody wearing dark clothing with a face mask?
No.
See anybody wearing green shoes?
No.
And then as you and officers approached the house, again, did you see anybody out and about besides officers?
No.
See anybody running away from the house?
No.
See anybody making any noise in the woods behind the house?
No.
See anything that would indicate there was anyone close by or near that home as you're approaching it?
No.
So you and officers safely approached the house. Why not just let Corsa go inside the house?
Corsa is trained to search structures, whether it's a building or a residence. However, she is trained to detect human odor. And when she searches a structure, once she locates human odor, she does one of two things. If I deployed her in this situation, it would be for somebody who is not supposed to be in the residence or the building. Therefore, she would bite and apprehend the individual and hold on to them to keep them from fleeing further. Also to allow officers and myself to know exactly where this person is at so that we can approach safely. Or she will give me an indication if she detects a person in the residence and their odor, but she cannot get to their actual person. In this situation, with the information that we had of a subject on the phone with dispatch stating that he was in the house, that he had been shot, I did not want to deploy my dog into that house to search because of knowing that we had an injured individual in the house who was stating that he was the victim of being shot.
Just hypothetically, what would you say if someone said that humans don't leave odors and dogs can't smell human odor? What have you learned or been trained about that?
Through my approximately 14 years of being a canine handler, I've been through training schools, been to training seminars. Humans do leave odors. That's how the dogs locate people. Besides tracking of disturbed vegetation and human odor, the dogs smell human odor when they do a building search or a residence search. That's how they find the person, is they go off of the odor. They're also, maybe we're outside and there's a subject hiding. Maybe we don't know exactly where they ran, but they're out hiding in an area. We will use the dogs to use the wind direction to smell for that human odor. And the dog will work, once they come across human odor, they will work what's called a scent cone, and they will use that scent cone working back and forth till they can work in and pinpoint where that human odor is exactly coming from.
What if, just in a hypothetical, people say that dogs track the disturbance of the ground or the vegetation, it's not the actual odor left? Would you agree with that?
Can you state that again?
What if it's like said in a hypothetical that dogs are not able to actually track a human odor, but it's instead tracking the disturbance of the ground or the vegetation? Do you agree that that's correct, or that you actually can track the human odor?
When it comes to tracking, the dog is tracking disturbed vegetation, but human odor can also be mixed into that odor that the person is leaving behind, where the dog is still smelling that human odor. And as they are tracking along on the disturbed vegetation, say a person crosses cement, you're still leaving human odor. Human odor could blow up against like a building, right as on cement where they're walking along. The dog is still smelling that and tracking. So it's a combination of both. And then as the dog is tracking that disturbed vegetation and possible odor being left behind by the individual, when the dog is following that track and say the individual has stopped and is sitting, that odor gets stronger while they're sitting in that area. So therefore, the dog, as they're tracking, they get closer and they start to recognize the odor that they have from that track is now getting stronger. They're getting close to the person. The dog, and every dog is different. Corsa, the way she is she's nose down, buried to the ground when she's tracking. When she's tracking along, if she starts to raise her nose up in the air and she kind of sniffing and moving her head back and forth, I can tell that she's giving me what's called a proximity alert, and she's letting me know that she is now getting close to a very strong odor of the odor that she has been tracking. Same thing that she gives me when she's doing an area search for a person outside, and at that point it lets me know that we are getting close to a person that is possibly hiding ahead of us.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's not quite noon, but 4 or 5 minutes till, but I've been informed that this is a good time for us to break. So we will take our lunch recess. I'd ask that you be back ready to go by 1:15. And again, I would just remind you of the admonition that I've given you previously. If you just want to leave your notepads in your little envelope and leave them on your chair, they'll be there for you when we resume.
All rise.
All right, go ahead and have a seat. Officer Buckles, you can step. Is there any record anybody needs to make at this point? Mr. Scheer?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson? No, Your Honor. All right, then. We'll close the record. Can I just see you guys for just a second?
Judge, what time do you want us back again?
1:15.
Okay, sorry.
No, I'm just thinking about the schedule.